All right, this is a really good question. How tight will Georgia's quarterback battle be going into 2023? I mean, we know the last two seasons, we've had two different guys start at Georgia. One of them has finished. That's Stetson Bennett, wherever he is. Now you're gonna have a competition, and the question is how tight will it be? Hey, if you pick up Double Dogs today, you're gonna get act now because we're gonna have the books later this week. You're gonna have confetti with your order. I got a limited supply of it, so order now. But Stetson's gone. Stetson's gone, and look, I don't know that it's clear that Carson Beck is the starter, but he's the favorite coming into this thing. And when you look at what Carson has done over time, he narrowly lost out on starting against UAB. I say narrowly; he was in a fight with Stetson that week, and then he has been Georgia's backup, for a season. And now you have a change at coordinator with Mike Bobo coming in. Will that really change what the trajectory, what the future will be at quarterback? Because both Brock Vandergriff and Gunnar Stockton are guys that have the capability, like Stetson, to really damage you with their feet. And that's just not what Carson's got. The other two guys, they don't have, in my opinion, having watched them play, they don't have what Carson has as an arm. Now, which would you rather have? You know, you'd rather have all of it. I mean, I think that what you really want is the best quarterback. Who is the best quarterback? Who plays the position the best? You know, who's going to play with composure when you need it? Um, I think Brock Vandergriff is still the rawest of this group. Um, I think he's also the most athletic, and there are decisions to be made here as time goes on. But I'll tell you this: if it looks easy for Carson Beck, if it looks like he is primarily going with the ones, then this is not going to be as close as people like me are going to make it out to be as we get closer to the season, because it will be evident what's going on. In the past, you just look at the sort of quarterback situations at Georgia: 2010, 2015 and 16, 2020. Just visiting when Kirby has been the guy. In 2020, they could not figure out who they should play at quarterback. I mean, it was pretty clear. I mean, I don't know what happened with Jamie Newman. Someone, there's got to be an explanation of these things, because there were some things that Jamie Newman could do that you really would have liked at Georgia. Secondly, you had Dwan Mathis, who was probably as gifted an athlete at quarterback that Georgia's had since Quincy Carter. I mean, Aaron Murray was a really good athlete though, but um, and Matthew was too. I'm not going to get sidetracked in all this, but you know, Dwan couldn't play quarterback. I mean, that was not so much of playing quarterback is playing quarterback, and that's obviously redundant, but I think it's looked over a lot. And Gunnar Stockton, I'll say all that to lead to that. Gunnar Stockton totally understands how to be a quarterback, how to play quarterback. He's just never played college football, and he's young. And I think that you are young, that you are inexperienced, makes you do things that aren't real smart. And this guy right here is a great example of that. I can't tell you how many times Stetson did stuff in 2020 that you're like, what was that just there? You know, it was strange. Like, again, very specifically against Alabama, he just did some stuff that wasn't smart against Kentucky. Same thing a couple of times against Kentucky. In 22, he did some stuff against Kentucky. I was like, what was So we're talking about Kirby Smart here. You know, we're talking about a guy that is not going to fool around with the protection of the football. He understands how critical it is for a team that's as good at it as defense as Georgia is, to hold the ball, to just possess the ball. And if you're not possessing the ball, to score. Turnovers are a no-go. They're just, it's not going to work out. And if the turnover situation would very possibly lead you to what they experienced with Jacob Eason in 16, which was some spectacular for sure. I mean, when you think about Jacob Eason in 2016 and you don't remember the Tennessee game, you don't remember the Missouri game, you're forgetting what he did against Kentucky when they were down late, had to drive the field to win the game. I mean, Jacob Eason had some big time moments, but he had a lot of that's not good moments too. And it was just too much. And by the time that Jake Fromm was on campus, Jake really didn't do the spectacular, if we're being honest. Um, I I can't quickly remember spectacular arm moments from Jake Fromm. He had a really nice throw in the Notre Dame game to Lawrence Cager. Uh, but his throw to Cager against the Gators that won that game was from playing quarterback. So he didn't really flash. And even when I watched him at Houston several times, um, it was like, this guy. But then, like, you look up and, like, this guy is throwing a lot of touchdowns. Like, there is a lot of production here. And so they went with Jake Fromm, and it made a lot of sense. Well, I'll tell you right now, man. I said this the other day, and I'm not trying to. Y'all can have your own fight about Justin Fields if you want, but if Justin Fields were around right now at Georgia, as deadly as they've been, they'd be even more deadly because he is the future of quarterbacking. That style is the future of quarterbacking, and you saw that style with Stetson. I mean, Stetson was a better quarterback than Justin, but he didn't have the physical tools of Justin, or he does not, excuse me, have the physical tools of Justin, but he has enough of it to be really dangerous. And so that's where you kind of get into this thing with Brock and Gunner. I'm a little worried about Gunner running in this league. Uh, Part of me immediately after saying that says, well, Stetson Bennett ran, but Gunner's doesn't have the running ability to just like get away like Stetson does. Gunner is chilled out. Nothing seems to bother him. It seems like it seems like everybody around Gunner Stockton is in slow motion. That's what it seems like to me. And then he just kind of does kind of whatever. And that's Gunner Stockton. He could and like I know that area of Georgia really well. And it's not blessed with very many athletes. It's just not. My family's from that way. My mother grew up in Hiwassee, so I know Northeast Georgia, excuse me. And there's just not a lot of guys up there. But even when he was playing pace and people like that, Gunner would do stuff, and it was impressive. It was impressive. So I just, as I watched Brock Vandergriff over time, he impressed me more over time. As I watched Gunner Stockton over time, he impressed me more. But coming into Athens, Gunner Stockton was the the more prepared to play quarterback. But Brock got the ability to be there for a year. So in answering the question, if Carson Beck grabs a hold of this thing and does not turn loose, it's not going to be very close. But there are some variables here that we don't know yet. Mike and Stockton, those families have known each other and have worked together. That's not new news to people who are insiders. So he understands certain things. I think Gunner brings a particular readiness for a young guy that a lot of people don't have. And when you're talking about a guy that was a 4-year starter and a really good and by the way, the coaching that he got at Raven was really good. Okay, those guys that that group does a very good job. With Vandergriff, his physical attributes are the real deal. I mean, his wheels are something you do not see very often. He is a dangerous runner. Stetson's a dangerous runner. This guy is a dangerous runner, like scary. And then with Carson Beck, you've got a guy who really should be ready to start, should be ready to lead this program to a national championship. The challenge with Carson Beck, just like with everyone else, is we only have so much data on Carson Beck. But man, when he's been in there, he's looked good now. And I think that's step one. Tell me if you agree.